Good morning, colleagues. Welcome to the CSIR media briefing on cyber bullying. My name is David Mandaha. I am the CSIR Media Relations Manager. So I'll be chairing this media briefing. I see people are still joining in. So I think we can proceed with. Ladies and gentlemen from the media, welcome to this session. CSIR representatives were here. Welcome. And I know that there are also people who are also joining us through our YouTube channel. You are also welcome. And feel free to participate. You can type in your questions to the panel, and then we'll take it to them. Today we are focusing on a very important topic. It is sensitive, and it's a topic that I think we should address, and members of the community should be aware of what cyberbullying is all about. The CSIR has been working in this area for a long time. We've got researchers who are going to take us through their research work, the work that they've done with regards to cyberbullying and cyber crime, related, activities. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a presentation, and that after that presentation will allow members of the media, including those who are here, to participate through the question and answer session, where our researchers will be able to answer the questions that you will be asking them. So today we've got two researchers who are going to present to you some of their research when it comes to cyber bullying. The first person to present is going to be Sipho Ngobeni. Sipho is our senior researcher here at the CSIR. And then we'll also be joined by Rofiwa Nechia. Rofiwa Nechia is our researcher here at the CSIR as well. So the two gentlemen will take you through the work that they've been doing. They've started this work, a while ago. So they want to just share with you some of the findings, and then will then allow you to then engage them. So I will now hand over to Sipho to take us through the presentation, and then Sipho will hand over to Rofiwa, and then Rofiwa, immediately after Rofiwa, that's where we'll then take questions and answers. Once again, welcome to this media briefing. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sipho. While Sipho is still preparing for the presentation, I would like to request colleagues, when you join in, please mute your mic because we are also getting feedback. Please ensure that your mic is muted. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sipho.
Good morning, everyone, including members of the media, my colleagues, CSR Communications. Just maybe to check, am I audible enough, David?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you so much for the warm introduction. My name is Sipho Ngobeni. I'll be giving some brief talk on cyberbullying, or specifically on the work that we do at the CSIR, centered around this topic of cyberbullying. I am actually not alone. I've got my colleague. It's Mr. Rofiwa Csir. We will sort of be sharing this presentation. So I will start the first couple of slides, and then I stop sharing my screen, and then Rofiwa will then take over and proceed with the presentation. So in essence, this is the content that our presentation is centered around. So this introduction, just to introduce the whole cyberbullying or cybersecurity awareness capability that we have at the CSIR. And then we define what cyberbullying actually entails, why people get cyberbullied, some negative effects of cyberbullying. And we looked at different cybersecurity incidents in South Africa that has happened in the recent past. Why is it difficult to stop cyberbullying, and some statistics on cyberbullying, and how people can actually go about protecting themselves, and some little bit discussion on the legal implications of cyberbullying. So the CSIR in the division called Information and Cybersecurity Center, we have a capability called Cybersecurity Awareness. So what we have been doing at the CSIR is we're educating users, internet users, on how they can actually defend or protect themselves while they're surfing the internet. So this program, actually, we have sort of piloted or deployed it in different business environment, government and public sector, you know, your private industries, you just to mention a few then. So this program is actually structured into 5 main themes, where we get inside a business organization, we train, it's either the executive, you know, whether the cleaners, people that work within an IT environment, you know. So it's sort of everyone, because we feel that cybersecurity awareness touches everyone in the context of business. So the program is structured into 5 main themes, the first one being computer malware. So we look at different types of malwares that users can actually consume, you know, your botnet, you know, your viruses and so forth. But the message that we want to pass with this program is how can you actually spot these types of malware, and how can you actually go about preventing them from entering the organization through you as a resource of the company. We also have mobile security. So there we talk a lot about issues centered around cell phones. I think everyone uses a smartphone or a cell phone. I think everyone who's part of this program have, in one way or the other, a cell phone. So there are a lot of cybersecurity related issues that talks to that we look at in regards to mobile security. We further look at things like your Fitbit watches, for instance. You know, a lot of people these days are using your Fitbit watches and so forth. So there are security implications that we look at around those. Now, given a computer, for instance, what are some of the physical security implications that one needs to consider? You know, so we talk about password security. How do you create strong password? We look at different standards that are associated with that as well. We also have a theme that is called safe surfing as part of this program. So we look at things like your internet banking security and so forth. I mean, most people will agree with me these days they are doing online banking. So there are some cybersecurity and related dangers that are associated with that people need to take cognizance of. Most importantly, I think one of these themes that we have that probably brings us today here is what we call social aspects of cybersecurity. So we look at things like social engineering. I'm sure some of you have heard about phishing and so forth. And some of you have even fallen victims of what we call social engineering and phishing of this world. But most interestingly, we have a topic that is called cyberbullying as part of the social aspects of cybersecurity. So that's sort of what this presentation will be looking at the cyberbullying aspect. Now, what is cyberbullying? So we actually went and looked at how different scholars define cyberbullying. It's very interesting, different perspective. So you will see the first scholar there, they talk of harassment that happens through the use of technology, and the second scholar there, they say cyberbullying is when someone repeatedly makes fun of another person electronically. And the third one, I think I like this one. It's probably one of the biggest researchers or entity when it comes to cyberbullying research. They're located in the United States. They're doing very interesting work, but I find that their definition to be very interesting, because they're saying for cyberbullying to occur, it must be repeatedly and it must be intentionally, and the fourth one, they talk about the deliberate use of online digital media to communicate false information, hostile information, about another person. And the last one talks about to intimidate another person on communication networks. So we sort of, after looking at different literatures on how to define what cyberbullying is, we then sort of came out with our own sort of understanding of what cyberbullying can actually mean. So in essence, or in summary, cyberbullying it's the use of electronic communication or electronic means, and there must be an intention. You're doing this intentionally to say someone has a big head, you are ugly, you are fat, and these are some of the things that people cannot change about themselves. So that's what we actually called cyberbullying. So cyberbullying, like we said, they use electronic means or electronic communication, and examples of that is emails. Your manager can send you an email, and say funny things about you that can eventually lead to what we call cyberbullying. They can use instant messages. I think some of us here, they are on WhatsApp and other instant messages, that we use to communicate a lot of information. And it happens that some people, they take advantage of that and bully other people. Some people, they can use text messages that are sent through cell phones, taking digital photos or pictures of people, posting them online, and I think we'll discuss some examples as we proceed, where people took advantage of digital images of other people, and it led to cyberbullying incident and any other form of electronic means. That's what cyberbullies actually use. So cyberbully can post gossip or rumors about an individual. I think maybe some of us have actually experienced this, where someone is either on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn and starts spreading rumors. And I think it has happened a lot, that can eventually lead to what we call cyberbullying. They send out messages pretending to be you. I think this is more prevalent, or it occurs more when your Facebook account has been hacked, and all of a sudden people, they start to pretend to be you and post a lot of even your images. They post false information, pretending to be you, inviting your friends on Facebook and so forth. They can post secret and pictures for everyone to see, especially in an instance whereby your Facebook account it's hacked and so forth. So we then looked at different statistics on the reason why people get cyberbullied. These stats, we obtained them from a broadband search, and it's very fresh. It was conducted in 2021. Interesting enough, the stats shows that a lot of people get cyberbullied as a result of their physical appearance. About 61% of the results shows that people get bullied or cyberbullied because of their physical appearance. And I mean, I can't do anything by the fact that when someone looks at me, they see me as being ugly, or they see me as being fat, I mean, that's who I am. I can't change the fact that when you look at me, I am ugly. But hey, these are the stats. They shows that the physical appearance is one of the most contributing factor in terms of people getting cyberbullied. And the second one, it's because of the academic achievement. And I think this is more prevalent within, if you really interrogate these stats, it's more prevalent within the people, the learners that attend school. I remember I've been a victim of this one when in my early ages of high school. You obtain good grades in a class, and all of a sudden, you find someone wants to compete with you because you have good grades, and it starts with a talk. The next thing, they go online and they post bad stuff about you, So this is very interesting findings that we got there to say the top two prevalent or dominating reasons why people get cyberbullied. It's because of their appearance and their academic achievement. Sometimes these cyberbullies, they pick random people because of something they did online, that the bully did not like. A typical example is someone made a comment, So I've also been a victim of this. I went to Facebook, they post a certain topic there, a lot of people, they are making comments, and all of a sudden there's a chain, of comments that is addressing a particular person that made a comment, and you find that this comment really, it has very little or nothing to do with the main subject which they posted online, Now, some of those chain of comments, they can end up to what we call cyberbullying, Another example is you send a mail, this happened mostly in sort of a working type of setup or an environment, where you send an email perhaps to a wrong person, when they reply, they sort of get angry, or you spelled their name incorrectly and so forth. Or you joined a group, where you are not welcome in that group. These days, if you check what happens on social media, especially on Facebook, you find that there's a lot of groups that talks about different things, stolen cars, running clubs and so forth. You'll find that in that particular group that you joined, there's a couple of people, or there's one person that they don't like you, or you're a female, and it happens that you join a male group and somebody targets you there, and it ends up on cyberbullying. So investigation shows that most of the victims are children, but this is also more prevalent within adults as well. And we'll see in some of the examples that we'll talk to as we proceed with the presentation. But it is more prevalent on people at the adolescent stage. So within the South African context, we're talking about people at the age between 12 and 19 or so. So studies shows that it's even more prevalent within the adolescent stage, or at the adolescent age. We then looked at some of the negative effects of cyberbullying. So the first one, it talks about once a person gets cyberbullied, they become, and really it doesn't matter whether you're young or you're old or you're at an adolescent stage, because this happens probably to everyone. So some of the effects are depression. You find someone, all of a sudden they become sad, for no reason. They have got anger, they become frustrated, they develop some anxiety or fear if it is children, especially if your child becomes more emotional after using internet or a mobile phone. These can be signs that probably the child access some material that they were not probably supposed to access. They develop some low self-esteem. If you're an adult, probably you because you have been cyberbullied, you start to have some family problems. But we know that our parents, for instance, used to have everything in order. You become disorganized and so forth. If it is kids, they start to avoid their friends. They start to avoid or not doing their schoolwork, you know, and so forth. You even experienced, you know, some learners dropping in their grades, you know, if even people that attend universities, we research shows that they experience drop in their academic performance, you know. They express subtle comments that indicates that you are being disturbed, you know, small issues, you know, you pick people for, or picking people for no reason, small comments, all of a sudden you become angry. And I think the most important one, the most effect is that people develop suicidal thoughts. And I think we're sitting here today, we have seen that cyberbullying is a very, very serious issue. And it's sort of something that we really need to take cognizant of. Because once we sort of having to discuss about someone having suicidal thoughts, it means it's a very, very serious thing. So we also try to check what are some of these incidents that have happened in the recent past in South Africa. So the first one is a warder and an inmate sex tape that went viral on social media. I think this year, this incident took place in KwaZulu-Natal. And so it ended up the warder there being suspended at work as a result of that sex tape that took place in KwaZulu-Natal. And the second one there, it talks about the celebrity cyberbullying experience. So here what happens is a person took an image or a picture of another person when they were still very young. And then they post another picture of the same person when they are older, you know, and making it in life, and compared the two. And what they wrote there is that imali iyagezana, which translates into money can clean you. And I mean, really, those are some of the things that we shouldn't be doing. The person that this happened to him, or that celebrity, did not take it lightly, you know. In fact, he went as further as saying that the old picture that they are comparing with the recent picture, he was sick at that particular point in time. And then you can see that this incident was really not good. And recently, I think I've seen one that also talks about the same thing. I think all of us, we know the Kwabe twins that went to Idols. You know, somebody took their picture when they joined Idols and another picture of them. I think some of you have already seen that. And he said more or less the same thing. And those are some of the things that we actually discouraged, because the serious repercussions at the end of the day if we allow people to post those type of stuff. And we've seen some incident that took place in KwaZulu-Natal, where I think two pupil ended up being suspended in a school. So this started with the physical violence, and obviously it ended up these pictures being posted online, you know, and eventually it led to what we call cyberbullying. And this one I don't have to emphasize on the recent cyberbullying incident that took place in one of the schools in Limpopo that then ended up in a suicide. I think most of us have already seen that. And in Eastern Cape as well, there was a cyberbullying incident in 2020 where one of the school learners went to Facebook and created a fake profile of the friend and started posting unwanted sort of material there. And in Gauteng as well, I think in 2018, there was an incident whereby it resulted into a suicide. So I think even without going deeper into this, one can already get a sense that cyberbullying is actually real, and it's here. We are living with it, you know, especially with the incident that led to suicide. I mean, it shows that cyberbullying it's actually real. Why is it actually difficult to stop cyberbullying? So some of the research that we looked at, it shows that most people, they still don't see the harm associated with cyberbullying. Parents, especially, they feel that they have more problems to deal with within the society or to worry about as compared to cyberbullying. Parents don't have the knowledge or time to keep up with the behavior of their children when they are online. Some of the findings shows that parents claim schools should be the one that are responsible for this type of issues, especially when it happens to school. They say that the schools should educate the kids when it comes to cyberbullying and the related repercussion thereof. Educators don't know when and how to intervene in online behaviors that occur away from school but still involve their students. So this research also shows that law enforcement are hesitant to get involved unless there is clear evidence, but there are some sort of conflicting type of evidence, especially when you look to some of the legal material that talks to this type of work. So in essence, in order probably to resolve the above, the suggestion that youth should feel comfortable to talking to adults. So let's say your child has been cyberbullied at school. You need to create that environment where they are able to trust someone, whether it's an adult or whether it's a friend, but eventually they must be comfortable to talk to someone that can eventually help them. And there's also suggestion that cyberbullying is not like a school or a parent type of an issue. Everyone needs to be involved in order to solve these problems. So we're talking about the youths, the parents, educators, the counselors, law enforcement, social media companies, where most of these things ended up lending into, and the community at large. Some of the stats as well that we sort of looked at, I think it's very interesting for me because these are 2021 statistics. They show that a lot of people, get cyberbullied on Instagram. I was expecting, the results to show that probably Facebook, because a lot of people these days, they're using a Facebook. I don't want to say they're using Facebook more than Instagram, but you'll find that school kids that, or even learners, your child that that they don't have a cell phone. When they get to school, you find that they borrow a cell phone from one of their friends and create a Facebook account, put their picture there and start to talk to their friends. So some of these things, that's how they actually get started. You find that the parent is not even aware that the child has a Facebook account. And if it happens, it actually becomes difficult to control. I've experienced a situation whereby one of my nephews did the same thing, when they forget the password because they're younger, they go create another Facebook account and they end up having 4 or 5 Facebook accounts, of the same person. And that increased the chances of this person, for the other Facebook account to be hacked and so forth. Other findings that we have seen based on the same research from Broadband Search is that the effects of cyberbullying, most people develop what we call social anxiety, about 41% of them, followed by depression, and I think the least one, about 9%, they began abusing alcohol and using drugs. So these are some of the findings that shows that cyberbullying is actually a very, very serious issue that we need to take it very, very seriously. And South Africa participated in one of the global research that was conducted by 2018. And I think the source, as you can see in the bottom of this image there. And so this research shows that globally 1 in 3 parents has sort of experienced or reported that a child has been cyberbullied within their community. And you can see as you look deep into this graph here, it shows that South Africa came on top in 2018. About 54% of the parents have come up front to say, we know of a child that has been cyberbullied, or it can either be their child or it can be a neighbor or someone within the community that they live in. So, I mean, if 54%, it's actually a lot in the context of if you look at the population of South Africa. So, even though South Africa was called to participate in this research, but still the findings are a little bit, the numbers are a little bit higher or scary. Another one that we actually looked in, from the same research, to say which social networking platforms dominates in terms of people getting cyberbullying. So you can see there that if you look at the numbers, about 66%, find that social networking sites dominate. The second one followed by cyberbullying happening on mobile devices, online messaging, and some other websites. So these are very interesting stats that we actually interrogated. I think this is the last slide. I will want to hand this over to my next colleague to talk about how do you actually go about protecting yourself in an event whereby you are being cyberbullied. Thank you so much. Rofiwa, over to you. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Sipo. I'm not sure, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Oh, okay, sorry, let me share again. I think I'm sharing. Can you still see?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. I've seen which one you can see. Which one are you seeing? Are you seeing the one with the 2 sections of the slides, or?
Yeah, it has 2 sections of the slides.
Yeah, that's not the one that you're supposed to see. Okay, yeah, I think now you should be seeing the right one.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Sipo. So as Sipo and David have introduced me, I am Csir. I am a young researcher at the CSIR. Now, I am going to be taking you through the next slides of our presentation. And then the first thing that we are going to look at is how to protect yourself. So it's either you have been cyberbullied or you haven't been cyberbullied. So as a child, the first thing that we think you should do is to report those incidences to an adult. So this can either be a parent, it can be a teacher, or somebody that you trust. Now, if the type of cyberbullying that you're experiencing is just some minor teasing or name calling, we strongly advise that you, as a victim, you don't respond. The reason for that is that the more you respond towards the cyberbullying activities, the more the cyberbully gets encouraged to continue bullying you. So most of these social media platforms or the online services that we use have what we call account privacy settings. So these are the settings that you, as a user, you should be able to restrict who gets to see your content, who gets to see your cell phone numbers, for example. Now, a typical example of this would be Facebook. So Facebook allows you as a user to actually restrict who gets to see your cell phone numbers, who gets to see your location, who gets to see the picture that you post, and so on and so on. Now, again, if you're being cyberbullied as a child, we strongly advise that you keep any evidence of cyberbullying and then show that evidence to an adult. Now, if it's maybe it's some kind of emails that you're receiving, you can take screenshots. If it's a picture of you that has been pasted online, that has been posted online, you can also take screenshots and then show that evidence to an adult who should be able to take care of things from there. Also, children are sort of encouraged to make their parents aware of the sites and the online platforms that they use. Now, the reason for this is that it gives the parents the ability to do the research, to do a research of their own into those online platforms and services that you use as a child. So by doing so, they're able to sort of get an idea of what danger are you exposing yourself to by using those platforms. Giving out personal information as well as talking to strangers online, it's strongly not advisable because sometimes you don't know why they are communicating to you. So we strongly advise that as a child, you don't have to communicate to strangers online. Now, you actually have to pause before you post anything online. Now, the reason for this is that sometimes you might post something and you might be bullying someone without knowing. And then secondly, you might post something that people may use to make fun of you. Trying to go to the next slide here. Okay. And then the next slide talks about the role of parents in protecting their children from being cyberbullied or when they're being cyberbullied. Now, the first thing that as a parent you should do is to make sure that your child feels as safe as possible by conveying some kind of unconditional support. Now, in a case whereby the child has opened up to you about what's happening or the kind of incidences that they're experiencing, we advise that you work together with the child to arrive to some kind of mutual agreed course of action. So as a parent, you don't have to dictate what has to happen from there. So you need to work together. Also, you can discuss the matter with the school if it's happening within the school premises. Now, the reason for this is that sometimes educators themselves are not aware that your child is being cyberbullied. If you know the parents of the perpetrator, you can also share the information with them so that they're aware of their child's behavior. You can also take the issue up with the internet service provider or the content provider. Let's say, for example, somebody has posted a picture of you online without your consent. You can take that up to the content provider and they can investigate that matter and remove that offending material from that platform. Now, most of these platforms, they have that functionality that actually allows you as a user to sort of report any post that you come across. If you see that the post is inappropriate, you can report it and then it will be investigated and then later on removed from that platform. These issues can also be taken further to the South African law. And then later on, we are going to share with you guys how the South African law deals with cyberbullying perpetrators. Also, you should educate your child about the appropriate online behaviors. This includes how they should communicate while they're online, the language that they should use, what they must do and what they mustn't do while they're online. Also, you can do what we call reinforcing positive morals and values. So in this case, what you do is that you sort of narrate a situation whereby your child is a victim so that they get to understand the negative effects of cyberbullying. By doing so, it it will ensure that they themselves don't go out and bully other children. The next slide talks about the role of schools. So now we'll be talking about what can schools do in fighting cyberbullying. Now, the first thing that we think schools can do is to educate the community within which that school is located about the responsible use of their mobile devices and so on. Now, we strongly believe that if the community itself is educated, also the children within that community will be educated. So also, the children need to be made aware that any form of bullying, it doesn't matter if it's face-to-face bullying or it's cyberbullying, it's unacceptable and can be subjected to discipline. Schools should also regularly discuss issues related to appropriate online communication. As I've said before, the language they should use, what they should do, and what they should not do while they are using these online platforms and services. Now we find that the usage or using billboards and pictures is a more effective way to actually convey a message to children as opposed to some kind of verbal communication. So we strongly advise that schools should use the billboards and pictures to educate students about cyberbullying. Now, another thing that can be done is that the government can work together with schools and parents to sort of drive a process of establishing some kind of harassment and bullying policies. So these bullying policies should be able to deal with any kind of bullying, whether it's face-to-face bullying or cyberbullying. Also, the development of creative response for harassment resulting in insignificant harm. That's something that also the schools can consider doing in fighting cyberbullying. Now, depending on the significance of the harm caused by the cyberbullying, some things can be done, and including change of placement. For example, what I'm saying is that if your child was being bullied at a school, and then now your child is no longer feeling comfortable at that school, you can also consider changing or moving your child to another school. So the next slide talks about protecting your child. Now, if you have a computer at your home, we strongly advise that you actually locate or you put that computer in some kind of common room, as opposed to putting the computer in the child's room. Now, the reason for that is that when that computer is in a common room, you as a child, you as a parent, you have that some kind of visibility, so you can see what they are doing, what sites they are visiting, and also what online platforms they are using. So we find that children are less likely to go to suspicious sites if they know that the parents can look over their shoulder. And also, if should something happen while they are using those platforms and services, you as a parent, you are there to actually give an advice of what they should do next. Parents should also talk to their children about personal security. So just as you remind your child that they should regularly lock the door when they leave the house, you actually need to remind them that they should lock the internet door. So as my colleague Sipo has already indicated that he once experienced a situation whereby his nephew was using somebody else's phone to actually sign up for these social media platforms and so on and so on. So in such a case, your child must be regularly reminded that they should actually log out of those services after using that after using somebody else's cell phone, because later on the owner of the cell phone can act as the victim, or yes, the owner of the cell phone can act on behalf of the victim. Then you should remind your children that they should never give out their passwords. And then the reason for that is that if I have your password for a specific platform, I can go and act on your behalf there. By doing that, I'll be stealing your identity and then start posting inappropriate materials online, materials that you didn't post yourself, and then that could result in your dignity being injured and so on. Then you should also remind your child that they should never give out their addresses or telephone numbers. So what we find is that most of these minors or children, they usually memorize their parents' cell phone numbers as well as their address, their residential address, which is a good thing because in cases whereby they are lost, they can find help. But then they should be reminded that they should never give out such information when it's not necessary. They should only give out that information when it is necessary, because you never know what the stranger wants with that information. Then we also strongly advise the installation of internet monitoring software on your child's computer. Now, these are just some low-cost software. Some of them are free. Now, what that software does is that it sort of checks, or it sort of monitors what your child does on that computer. So it can track the internet sites that are visited, and also what are they downloading, the chat conversations, and instant messaging. Now, this helps you as an adult or as a parent to actually, so you can actually spot if your child is being cyberbullied, because you actually have that visibility into their chat room conversations and so on, and the sites that they're visiting, as well as the social media platforms that they are using. So now we will look at the legal implications of engaging into cyberbullying. So these are just some common categories under which the cyberbullying perpetrators can be charged on. Now, the first one is Crimean Injuria. So that one applies when the dignity of the victim is injured. Maybe I've posted a picture of you online that you don't want the public to see, and then your dignity ends up being compromised. So I can be charged under that category. Then the second one is sexual exploitation and grooming. So this is applicable when the perpetrator is threatening someone to obtain something from him or her. Maybe something like if the perpetrator is saying, if you don't engage in sexual intercourse with me, then I'm coming after your family one by one, things like that. Then the last one is criminal defamation. Then this one, it's applicable when the perpetrator is posting lies about someone on social media or on the online sites that we use. Now, we as the CSIR, we are currently developing a technology or a platform that is referred to as EduCyber, and Sipo has talked about it in the beginning. So the platform, what it does is that it allows the participants to sort of communicate in a chat group, and then from there it uses artificial intelligence to detect cyberbullying in that chat room. So you as a user, you are given 3 warnings before you can actually be blocked or from that chat room if you are using some inappropriate languages and so on, or if you are engaging into cyberbullying activities. So this slide is just the references, and that concludes our presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Sip and Rofiwa, for that presentation. I will now open the floor for question and answer session. I've got my colleague Lindy, who is monitoring on the social media space. If there are any questions from that side, I think let's start there, Lindy. Before we go to other questions, let's check if there are questions from the social media side. Lindy?
Hi, David. Hi, everyone. We had a question, but it was retracted, so I don't think I should ask that right now, but I'll keep monitoring you and let you know when we have more questions on YouTube.
Thank you so much, Lindy. From me. Please, so that colleagues can also, over to you, Amy.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Great. I have a couple of questions, please. The first one is I'd just like to know how easy it is to contact a content provider and how quickly they get rid of the pictures or information and things like that. I know because I know from some experiences with my friends that have been named and shamed for incorrect things on Twitter. I mean, sometimes it takes days for it to happen. I just want clarity on you spoke about adolescents. Are you saying that they are, I can't remember the word you guys used, I think it was prevalent or something like that. Are you saying that they are the aggressors or are they the victims? I'm just trying to understand what you meant around adolescence. Then my third question, please, is does the CSIR have any stats on cyberbullying on adults, or was this more focused on children and adolescents? And then in 2018, we said that South Africa was on top of the list for cyberbullying. Do you guys have any idea if we have improved? Do you have any latest statistics from this? And sorry, I didn't catch where that data came from. And then my last question, sorry, I know it's a lot. My last question, please, is on the legal matters concerning cyberbullying. I'd just like to know in South Africa, do you know how often these cases go to court and what the success rate is, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I think you forgot to introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, my name's Amy Musgrave. I'm a freelance journalist for various publications, including Forza. We hosted the first Digital Economy Summit, and that's who I'm writing the story for.
Perfect.
Thank you
so much. I think you raised, about 5 questions. Maybe we should tackle that. And then we'll take another set of questions after that. Colleagues, I'm not sure who will start first. Sipho? And then another thing is that we have colleagues from the CSIR as well who will also be assisting in other questions. So you feel free to refer a specific question to one of your colleagues if they are able to answer that. Sipho, over to you.
Thank you so much, David, for the questions from the journalist there. So I will start with the first one. How quickly does it take to take down the infringing content? So there is what we call one of the cybersecurity laws that talks about cyberbullying. It's called Film and Publication Act of 2019. So I think section 18E, it says a person can lodge a complaint at Film and Publication Board regarding the offensive content that is posted or the illicit material. And then the Film and Publication Board have a prerogative to investigate the matter and check its merit, and then they can even issue what we call a takedown notice. So I'm really not sure, but once this thing gets out there, it's really difficult to control and take down that content. Because eventually you'll find that it has crossed now different jurisdiction, and it becomes a little bit difficult to really completely taking down the content. And I think the second question was talking about, we said cyberbullying is more prevalent on kids at the adolescent stage. And the question was, is this both being the victim as well as the transgressors? It's actually both, at that particular age. So at the adolescent stage, it's where you find people sort of bullying other people, and also people getting bullied, you know, by other learners and so forth. And the third question was around stats for adults. What are we seeing in terms of statistics in South Africa for adults at this particular point in time? I would like to park this. I'll come back to it for later, unless one of my colleagues can help me. We showed, the fourth question was, we showed that in 2018, top cyberbullying statistics, and what is the current status of this? Yes, that research South Africa participated on. I think I think you also asked about where did we source that? I think it's from Search Broadband. So that stat really does not necessarily show probably what you're looking for, but in essence, we can say that this issue, by the virtue that it is real, I mean, it's affecting everyone. So, and we've seen some of the cases that even resulted into suicide. So you'll want to even go as further as saying this thing is real, you know, it's continuing to happen, you know. Maybe previous in the past, some issues were not reported, but it is there. And I'm certain that if you can look the data, the recent data, you will see that there's even more cases. You know, I've listened to UNICEF. They were talking, I think, in last week as well. They have confirmed that these issues are real, and there's more cases of cyberbullying in South Africa. How often, I think this was the last question, how often do these cases go into court and their success rate? Unfortunately, I wanted to make a disclaimer at the beginning that we don't have any legal background here with my colleagues, but I am aware that there is a whole lot of different laws that talks to this, but at this point we are not sure how much success when these cases they actually go into court, you know. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sipho. I'm not sure if you would want to add something, Ropiwa?
No, not. I think Sipho has answered all the questions that were put forward.
Thank you, Amy. I see your hand is still up. Is it an old hand or?
Yes, it was an old hand. If I know Sipho wanted to park it. If possible later, if we can just answer the question on the cyberbullying of adults, please.
Okay.
Cool.
No,
Thank
we'll
you very much.
provide that information. Thank you so much. Any other question from the floor? It looks like colleagues are happy with the presentation. Lindy, do we have anything on social media at this moment?
Nothing at this moment.
Okay. Thank you, colleagues. In the absence of questions, I think we'll have to close this session. Thank you so much for joining us. We will provide the presentation that was shared by Ropiwa and Sipho to you colleagues, to the media colleagues, so that you can use it for your content. I would like to thank you so much for joining us in this busy day. I know it's a busy day in South Africa today. I see a hand. Please go ahead. I can't see.
Yes, I think I just wanted to, I think you when you spoke about sharing the presentation, then you said the media colleagues. Just wanted to say that I would be interested in having it as well, but I'm not part of media.
Okay, no, we'll also share. You can actually request. You can send a WhatsApp or an email, and then we'll forward it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you, colleagues, for joining us. Have a lovely day. Media colleagues, if you'd want to have a one-on-one interview with our experts, they are available. You can send me a WhatsApp message or an email. We'll take that request to them, and then you can engage with them. Thank you so much for joining.